All right, so today we're gonna be talking about these balls of flame. That's coming up next. Hello everyone, this is Dwayne with Edge of Nowhere Farm, and we're coming to you here today in the middle of June. We got some rain this morning. It's actually still sprinkling a little bit right now. It's actually kind of cool, a little humid, but you know what, not gonna complain. It's just a beautiful, beautiful day. So Lori and I, we actually kind of got a little bit of a break on chores today. I got some of those done yesterday, but one of the things that we wanted to come to you with was kind of wrapping up a little series we've done on our Flame Seedless Grapes. So that's what we're gonna be talking about today. And actually, I'm standing in front of the vine. I'm actually doing this on purpose because you'll notice this vine or recognize this vine if you've been watching any of our grape videos. Actually, our very first video on grapes, I was standing about here. This vine was behind me. I'll link that one here. So actually, one of the very first videos that we did was actually coming through and doing our final harvest on all of our Flame Seedless grapevines, and we showed you that. Another time I was in front of this was actually when we were doing our grapevine pruning. I'll link that video here, and specifically I pruned this vine. So this is exactly the vine that I was showing you in that video. We walked you through step by step the process that we go through when we're actually going through and we're pruning our grapevines. And remember, we went down to just little tiny nubs. So there was just little dead stick looking nubs that came up from the main vine. And then, of course, what's happened is it's grown into this. What you can't see, we do train the vines from that 3-foot wire up to the 6-foot wire. In fact, I'll link a video here that shows us netting this entire row of vines, and this one in particular. And we talked a little bit about the heavy pruning that we did at that point to get the netting on the tree and how we netted the tree, or netted the vines. So we've done a lot of pruning. But man, if you go through here and you follow some of these vines actually stretch from one side to the next. Shading this whole area. So just amazing how much growth you get out of it. But you know what? We've talked about all those things before, so now what I want to do is actually bring you the goods, which is the fruit. So one thing real quick, I do use one tool. I've talked about this one once before. This is a little tiny little pair of nipping shears. So they're little Fiskars titanium non-stick thingies. Anyways, got a very pointy tip. I actually use this, in fact, I'll link the video here. I used this when I was thinning our apples. So I use this to snip the little tiny applets off of the bundles, and that's what we're actually going to use to actually snip the bundles of grapes off of the vine. So if Lori wants to squeeze in our last video, what we had talked about was how we net this row of vines, and that's very purposeful. So we actually use just regular old clothespins. You'll see these here. We do that on purpose because I want to be able to get up into the vine itself to get the fruit, but still keep birds at bay. So it does a very effective job at that. So I can just take these 3 off here. This opens up nice and wide. I can get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and snip one off. So hopefully Lori can get this, but we've got several bundles of grapes in here. Oh, that branch is gone, but that's okay. I'm going to get some of these leaves out of our way so you can kind of see what's going on in here. So you can see we've got multiple bundles here. So I've got a bunch of grapes here. I've got a bunch back here that are not close to ripe. I've got a bunch here is the one I think I'm going to cut for you guys. The little tips, we'll talk about that here in a second. But for the most part, these look pretty good. So I'm going to go up in here, snip that, and bring that bundle out. Put that in the bucket. What I'll do is I'll come back and I'll put those clothespins on there. So set those down for now, but let's take a look at what we have. So got a little 2-gallon bucket that we just keep our harvests in. So looking at this guy here, pretty small little bundle. I mean, from as far as my forearm, so not quite the size of my forearm. Different variations in color. So we've got some that are really still green, just a little tiny bit of red. This could have probably been on the vine for maybe a few more days, but I wanted to take this day and get this opportunity to show you guys the actual harvest, because we've actually already been harvesting grapevines or grape bundles or bunches off of these sets of vines. But this is the first one that this particular vine is close enough to ripe. So, you know, they've got kind of a little bit of a, I don't know, powdery kind of, I don't know how to describe this unless you've grown apples or something similar to this, but they're kind of like this hazy white stuff that kind of helps protect the grapes. I've got some that are red. I've got some that are actually turning into raisins. These left on the vine turn into amazing, super, super sweet raisins. So if you're into raisins, leave a few of these on the vine. But you know what? Enough said. I'm going to pick one that is super, super red. So what I do is I can just get that haze off of the grape itself, and you can see in my hand, it goes from like a nice dark red on the end to a lighter green up at the top. And you know, it's pretty small. It's probably the size of a small marble, maybe even not quite that size. So, but taste one. Oh man, super sweet. I mean, just pops in your mouth. So, I mean, just really, really sweet. It's seedless, so there's no seeds in there. What's amazing is you get some of these off the bottom that are more green. I'm trying to eat all of them. All right, so that one was almost completely green and tastes almost exactly the same. So it doesn't have that red tinge, which actually has a lot of beneficial antioxidants in it. You get that red color. One of the reasons why wine has something in it called resveratrol. Resveratrol is a very potent antioxidant, particularly for your heart. It's got some anti-aging properties too, from what I understand. So there's resveratrol in grapes, in dark red grapes, just like you would get in wine. So that darker red, we want it. So we want to have those antioxidants from our grapes. But man, it tastes really, really good. And again, we got some that are, well, there's one right there. It's a raisin. Really sweet. You know, raisins really condense and kind of strengthen the flavor. But man, really, really good, strong, sweet raisin flavor. Tastes really good. You know, so one of the things that I want to talk about real quick when it comes to your vines, or to your bunches, when you got a bunch of grapes like this, one thing that you'll notice, the very tip of the grapes themselves, they really struggle to ripen. You know, we don't do a lot of thinning on this tree, or on this vine, which we can. We'll get better quality fruit to some extent, but you know what? We really love the taste of these. We like the fact that they're nice and small. We just kind of pull them off of here and just gobble them up. But if you snip the very end of this off, these individual grapes will get a little bit bigger. From what I understand, they ripen a little bit more evenly, so you get a more even ripening across the vine and across our sets of vines. But you know what? We really don't want that in particular with grapes, because we do really enjoy eating grapes. And you know what? When they don't ripen at the same time, all it does is lengthen our harvest. And so instead of having, you know, 1 to 2 weeks of harvesting these grapes, we've already been harvesting for a week. I've got green grapes, I've got some red grapes on here, I got combinations of the two. We're still gonna be harvesting off this into July. So we've still got probably 2, maybe even 3 weeks of harvest time because again, they ripen at different times, but still really sweet. So even these ones that are green are still nice and sweet. So just want to thank you for joining us today. And you know what, if you haven't done so already, hey, subscribe to our channel. You know, we've got a lot of exciting content coming up, especially as we hit the summer months. If you really enjoy fruit trees and fruit tree videos and how-tos on fruit trees, we've got a lot of those coming up still. So join us for that. Also, if you can like the video, like and share the video. If you got anybody, friends and family that are really into this kind of thing that you think might be interested, you know what, share the channel so we can get that information out there. There's a lot of people that will love to see it. And hey, you know what, if you have any questions or comments, hey, leave them in the comment section below. You know, Lori and I really enjoy reading those and responding to you guys with any questions, comments. You know, it doesn't matter what it is. Leave it below. We'd love to interact with you. So just want to thank you for joining us today and remind you, if we can farm on the edge of nowhere and if we can grow these on the edge of nowhere, so can you. All right, so today we're going to be talking about these balls of fire. No. All right, so today we're going to be talking about these little burning balls of fire. Burning balls of fire. Flaming balls. I don't know what to say.